Hello, this is Alex from Music Sequencing. Today I'm going to be telling you what MIDI is, in case you have any confusion about it. So here is a MIDI controller. Notice how I said it is a MIDI controller, not a MIDI instrument. Despite the fact that this looks like a keyboard, this MIDI controller doesn't make any sounds, except when you smack it. MIDI controllers aren't necessarily for playing any sounds. They're for sending messages. So what happens when I push a key on this keyboard? Well, I'll tell you, it will send a message to my computer and it says, Alex just pushed a C2 note down on his MIDI controller. And then when I take my finger off, it will send another message to my computer. Hey, Alex just took his finger off the C2 note. In your computer, you may have a software instrument that is controlled by MIDI or a sampler. And this sampler software instrument, it sits around and it does nothing until it hears a MIDI message. So MIDI is the language that is getting spoken here. So the controller is speaking the language, messages in MIDI, and then your MIDI controlled device or software synth or whatever, it listens for these messages, understands them, and then reacts to them. When the controller says, hello, I just pushed down a C2, the instrument gets that C2 and goes, all right, I'm going to play my C2 sampled note that is mapped to that MIDI message. So MIDI is this digital language. Let's talk about for a second why MIDI exists and why it is awesome. So before MIDI was invented, way back in the 70s, people had digitally controlled instruments, but all these digitally controlled instruments were controlled by different languages. So if you imagine me, like I am a digitally controlled instrument, and I was made by a company called Oberheim, because I'm an American, Oberheim's an American, and Oberheim invents a controller that speaks English, and it tells me when I should sing, when I should clap, all this stuff, and it's all in English. So this controller that Oberheim would have invented specifically for me, it only speaks the English language. And one day, let's say, me and the controller who tells me what to do, we go to Japan to perform a show. But an hour before the show, my boss, the controller, who tells me when to sing, he tells me when I should clap, he tells me what to do, he gets hit by a bus and he's dead. And we gotta play this show. But no one is there to tell me when I should sing, when I should clap. I cannot be controlled. I'm still alive, but my controller's dead. We are in Japan, and there's a company called Yamaha there. And there are plenty of bosses, just like my boss at Yamaha, that tell digitally controlled instruments when they should sing, when they should clap. But the problem is, all of these controllers at Yamaha, they only speak Japanese. So if you plug in a controller to me from Yamaha, and you push a note, it tells me something in Japanese and I have no idea what he's talking about. Should I clap? Should I sing? What should I do? So the idea behind MIDI is, wouldn't it be great if all of the instruments and all of the controllers in the world by all of the companies, no matter where they were, spoke the same language? So a Japanese controller could tell me, an American instrument, when I should sing and clap. And there was a dude at Roland, I'll put his name here, he thought that would be great. And he talked to a dude at a company called Sequential Circuits who also thought that would be great. So they talked to the different synthesizer companies and they decided that there should be a language that all the instruments spoke, a sort of musical instrument digital interface where they could all communicate. So now the year is 1983, and let's say I am a MIDI controlled instrument, and even though my boss got hit by a bus, I can take messages from a Korg or a Yamaha or anybody else who speaks MIDI, and I will know what they're saying. When they send a C2, a certain amount of ones and zeros, I'll go, okay, that means I should sing, or that means I should clap. So that's where it started. But it gets better than that. MIDI is just a language. The controllers speak the language, and anyone who understands it can react to those messages. So you know what else can speak MIDI? Your DAW, Logic, FL Studio, Ableton, whatever, Reaper, whatever you're working in, chances are it knows how to understand MIDI, and you can control your DAW with MIDI. So you could say, hey DAW, you speak MIDI, right? And he goes, yeah, I do. And then you go, okay, so when I tell you this is what I want you to do. So when I tell you C, I want you to play. Or when I tell you F, I want you to record. Because these aren't notes, they're just messages. C, C2 on, you know, play. F, whatever, 1 on, record. Okay, so programs can react to MIDI because they're just messages. And then you could do this with all sorts of things. You could have lights, a whole row of lights, and a program that understands MIDI that controls your light circuit. And then you could say, okay, when you get this MIDI message, light, turn on. When you get this message, turn off. Anything that understands MIDI can get controlled by MIDI. It is a standardized language. So when you are recording MIDI in your DAW, when you're playing along and it seems like you're playing an instrument, those are just the messages that are being recorded. Okay, you did this note on, this note off. And when you see those little squares, those MIDI blocks, that's at least 3 messages there. The beginning of the block is the MIDI on message. The end of the block is the MIDI off message. And the third message that I didn't say is which MIDI note was played. So here we see it is this C2 MIDI note. You can see it on the keyboard here. There's a lot of messages that you can send with MIDI. So you can really control instruments in a lot of different ways, in DAWs, in lights, in other things. You know, it goes beyond what you can imagine. You don't need to record messages from a MIDI controller. No, of course in your DAW there is a pencil tool so you can write them, and there are graphs so you can draw them over time. It goes on and it is beautiful. If you have any questions or comments or anything, please write them below and I will happily respond about the wonderful world of MIDI. And have a great day. Please like and subscribe if you want. Peace.